All right, gentlemen, and everybody watching, welcome back to Crossfire with SB and Gabi. Right off the bat, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. And check out in the comment section below this video. We have merch on our Cafe Press site, and we need to talk a little bit about our sponsors right off the top. We have Smirnoff Ice, Arm Assassin Strength Shop, armassassin.com, and Garage Door Guys in KC, Brian Kerner. Now, the contest currently running on the Arm Assassin Strength Shop. We have our $50 gift card to Arm Assassin Strength Shop. And for the month of December, it's going to be drawn amongst our Patreon members. So if you're not a Patreon member, it costs you $5, but you'll get entered into that contest. And right now, we'll recognize Tier 1, Brandon Irwin, Jorn Harold Habu. Tier 2, Bernie Marcochia, Zane William Nisley, and Jordan Yoakum. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today, Mr. Todd Hutchings. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Glad you guys can come to Ohio and spend a few minutes with me.
Well, we'd love to get out of the cold. It's around about minus 30 Celsius here, which I don't know what the hell that is in Fahrenheit, but
yeah, our thermometers don't go that low.
No. It's cold. So, yeah, Gabi, take it away, buddy. We're starting to get people rolling in on the chat here already, so the live is working well.
Give me your just instinctive impression over Herman's performance and Ryan's performance last weekend.
Ryan had an epiphany, I guess. You go in there thinking that you're, I guess being the strongest man in Australia doesn't quite get you too far in Poland. I'm telling you, Zloty, I mean, unless you're John or somebody like that, that tournament is a freaking eye. I've been there, I think, 3 times. And every time I still go, half my matches I don't think I even pulled. It's a completely new style. Now, this was Herman's second time. And I was there when Herman went first, and we all have the same, left-handed's first. You come out and you go, oh my God, I suck. I'm going to get my ass kicked, But Herman is able to pull it together his first time out there right-handed. But it's, it's probably the same thing they go through when they come here, and we got our mushy elbow pads, and we have our completely different style of reffing, our completely different definition of what's an elbow foul or an early start. But those folks over there, man, they are young and focused and dedicated, man. I mean, it's not a laid back, good time arm wrestling tournament. I mean, it is not fun at all.
Yeah.
So tell me about where, I guess, leading up to the matches with Ryan, did you feel like he had a shot at cracking that top 5?
I don't even recognize most of those names anymore. And he felt, let's see. I thought he did but when you're practicing with somebody, you're not doing full on militant ready goes, And those guys over there have a unique, there's no hand pressure, no finger pressure. It's like a quick draw contest. It's more of a duel than a battle. Strength wise, top 5, plus it's a randomly seeded bracket, I thought he'd do better I thought he'd make top 10, I didn't. But it's, yeah. Have you ever pulled it?
I have never been to Zloty. I do intend to go either in 2020 or 2021.
Yeah. It's a great tournament. It's incredibly professional. It's set up right. It'd be like watching a boxing match or a UFC fight here. The audience pays to get in. It's huge. And Igor, they do a good job putting it on, but yeah, those competitors over there are, single natural born killers, man. They got one one focus. But it's hard to get into that rhythm of just how fast and hard they launch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who has the strongest side pressure in North America and Australia, not named Todd Hutchings? Under 200 pounds.
North America and Australia, and under 200 pounds.
Well, let's make it interesting, Gobby. Let's say 220.
220. I just leave out
Well,
the
I was going to
240.
say Gabby. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Does Brazil count? Because that's who I was going to say. In Australia, under 200 pounds. What's the guys?
I threw in Australia as a cough. Fuck Australia. Let's stick with North America.
Okay. Well, in Australia, I'm sure it would be Ryan. In America, who under 200 pounds, I guess. Paul Lynn, RVJ, one of those guys, maybe.
Oh man,
yeah.
So you think Ryan, but
in Australia,
Danny Tesh. Danny Tesh could be the strongest man on the planet.
I only pulled Danny Tesh left. I'll be honest. I don't know. I pulled him left. I never pulled him right. I know Neil Pickup seems to think that he's got some potential a little bit, I don't know. I haven't pulled him. I'd have to. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe he'll beat Ryan. I don't. I mean, Ryan has gotten quite a bit. Ryan would know. When Danny Tesh was here, I don't even remember him. Where did he end up right-handed in that fake wall tournament we had in Vegas?
I don't even remember, man. That thing's a blur to me. You asked me where I placed in any wall tournament, and I wouldn't even be able to tell you.
Yeah,
I know.
I mean, what's his name? God, that good friend of mine, Paul Talbot, got left, and Justin was up in there left. So I don't know where Danny Tesh even did left, but he did beat. Well, he handled Quinlan. Quinlan's got a pretty good hit when Danny Tesh beat Quinlan right-handed, but I don't think Quinlan's a big side pressure puller. But right-handed, I don't know where Danny Tesh would be relative to, say, Justin Bishop or RVJ or somebody like that. I don't, Paul Lynn's strong. When I pulled, it was years ago, and I pulled him. He wasn't as experienced as he is now, but I mean, he had deep power in him.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Let me embark in some inter-podcast trolling. Hypothetically, you're not you, sir. You and Ron.
I don't care. I don't have a podcast. Just don't make fun of that Salmonella University. That's my favorite. Other than that, you can flame anybody.
Now, you and Ron Bath are the only two men on earth I won't troll. Anyway, hypothetically, you're tied up in the strap to Ryan Espy's right arm. Do you A, slowly pin him, or B, hammer him right to the pin?
You son of a bitch.
Whatever happens is going to be slow. Whatever. Whichever way my arm goes, it goes slow. I don't have fast matches anymore. So they're all slow.
Let's rewind to when you pulled Devin right-handed. Let's pretend that it was regular pads with absolutely precision, great reffing. Does the outcome change?
Do you think I'm going to get on a podcast and start a fight with the refs in WAL? Because that's not happening either. Hey, the refs miss calls. When you get famous, they go in your favor more often than they don't.
Well, let's just change the question a little bit then. Instead of saying like a better ref, let's change the rule set and say it was under, say, the PAL banner.
I think even Devin was public about saying that he thought I probably won that one match. I don't really care too much about that. The outcome of that is a couple of times in there, we were kind of hand to hand and we were side to side, and I did not feel outclassed horsepower wise. I had a geometry problem in that match, but I didn't feel like, oh my God, this guy is so strong, which has been my fear the whole time I've been in the super heavyweights. Was I'm waiting to feel that power that you just can't do shit with, And the matches I've won, the matches I've lost, I'm going, really? The horse, the strength difference isn't that big.
It's
which means a lot of the folks that were close to me when I was at 200 pounds could do well in the super heavyweights, So that's what I mean. Even the match with Jerry, where I was really getting beat up there, and I felt it. It's like, man, there's, if you can get that window open, I think I can sneak into this house and steal something because, the barbed wire and the barking dogs don't have me locked out completely, So it's but it's a different game, It's it gets real slow up with those big guys, but I don't, I'm competitive strength wise. I got geometry problems I got to fix,
Elaborate on that. Elaborate on that, on geometry.
I was already with the shortest guy in the 200-pound class. Now I'm really short. So these guys all get to set up tall with their shoulder up, and I'm setting up with my forearm almost vertical. I can't generate any more height.
But isn't that an advantage? Can't you see that as an advantage? Not in
it
position,
was,
but in
unless they cling back and keep prying my elbow up. Because if they pry my elbow up, I got no traction there. And I like to. I would rather pull with the hands lower, more in the center.
Yeah.
But I mean, I obviously need to generate more back pressure to pull with the taller guys. So at least it's a solvable problem. It's just
it is.
It was a lot funner when you just knew that you were the strongest guy in the class. So even if you were sleepy, you were still the strongest guy in the class.
The match just needed to stop. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not as much fun going in. Oh, well, I'm competitive.
Yeah.
So we got the next wall season coming up right away. What do you see happening as far as yourself? Like, I'm going to assume, am I correct in assuming you're staying at heavyweight?
I am staying at super heavyweight. That was never my choice. They never. Well, I mean, obviously, for you as a foregone, but you don't get a form, where you get to pick your weight class, right?
Yeah.
So they choose your weight class for you.
That's interesting. And do they tell you that that's your weight class, or do they just offer you matches that are all for sure in that weight class?
They told me 2 years ago they were putting me up in super heavyweight. Originally, now you never know what to believe, rumor wise, but it was like 2.5 years ago. I was under the impression there were no weight classes. It was going to be like Arm Wars or something like that, where they just set up matches and it crossed weight classes. But and then they came out, but they went to the super match format, but they still had 3 distinct weight classes, which the middleweight class seems to be negotiable. It seems to be, sometimes it's 195, sometimes it's.
Uh-oh. Shit. Give us a second, guys. Technical difficulties. I'm sure Todd will be back. Gabi, you're getting trash talked and trolled like nobody's business in the comments section. Oh, and guess what, Gabi? Your microphone went out. So, we lost you. So, and he's back. And guess where we lost? We lost Gabi because he has to fix his microphone again. However, you were talking about the 190 or the middleweight class being negotiable.
Because I know they've had matches as high as 210, and they've had matches as low as 195. So I don't know how they set that. I don't know who determines that.
Okay, so what's the future hold for you? So it's you're looking at staying at super heavyweight. Has there been any chatter about who you're going to get put against, or what kind of the roadmap looks like for you going into the next season?
I haven't heard. Jamie's texted me a few times. I haven't heard anything about potential matches, potential schedule, anything. I have no idea.
When does that season kick off?
I haven't heard. I'm assuming April, May time frame, but I haven't heard a thing.
Okay. Gobby's on the 3-second countdown to come back. That's interesting. Gobby, say something.
I'm here.
There, I can hear you. It's interesting that they haven't, I was assuming April, really lined anything up yet. And I know that it's a promotional mistake sometimes to announce something so far in advance. But I don't know. We need something to get excited about now that the top 8's finished.
Yeah, well, I gotta train kind of specifically per person. So the sooner I know, even if hey, you're gonna pull one of these 2 or 3 people, that I would love that. What I don't want is, oh, in 6 weeks you're pulling this guy you have no chance against. As opposed to.
But realistically, Todd,
give me 24 weeks and say you're going to pull one of these 3 people you don't have a chance against.
But realistically, Todd, who can we conceivably think? Not Jerry, you pulled. Marcio, you pulled. Ron Bath, you pulled. Mask, you pulled. Devin, you've pulled. What's left? Dave Chafee.
Yeah, that Ryan can weigh in here, but I think the super heavyweight class divided. There's like 2 tiers.
Yeah,
and I think Devin, Jerry, Dave, and Michael Todd are the top tier, and the rest of us are, in the shade of gray, right below it, because we're all kind of close. But to beat one of those top 4 guys, that's I'd be happy if I could beat one of those top 4 guys.
Yeah,
in a super match.
It's a very interesting problem because if you watch Dave Chafee versus Devin or Michael, you would think that he's almost in that second tier. But then you put him against Jerry, and it might be a completely different story.
Yeah, for me, I don't care. I mean, if Gabby beats Dave Chafee's still in the top tier because he hurt my arm. So, and I've pulled Dave multiple times, and I know exactly what that feels like. So I don't care if he's, amputated or something. It's going to be a tough one for me to,
That kind of segues me into a question I had for you. When you tore your bicep against Dave, did you not contemplating quitting?
Then I what?
Did you not contemplating quitting the sport?
Oh, I've quit 3 times.
Okay. What keeps bringing you back? And don't say it's money.
It's money.
I don't.
I've always been very honest about that. It was exactly the money.
I don't believe that.
Well, you see what a lucrative career I've made with my fame. So, and my wild cadre of friends I keep up with. I don't know. But to be fair, I met John early enough in my career. John treated the sport just as a profession. Now, he might not be into the money now as his comeback, but when you travel around and practice and compete with John, you get that professional, it's for the money mindset. And that simplifies so much of the training in the sport if you do it for that reason as opposed to ego or something else. I heard a story. I don't know if this is true. This is one of my favorite John stories. Was because he never went to the world championships, right? He's the greatest arm wrestler, since the planet started spinning. Never won a world championship.
He did once.
I heard that they had a money tournament after it, but you had to compete at Worlds to enter it. So he entered left-handed and then went and won.
Yeah.
I love that story. That story I love so much. So, yeah, well, I guess I'd stay in it now as long as I could to try to make top tier super heavyweight. That would be something that would be pretty cool if I could do that. But when I was a middleweight, it was just for the money. I mean, I'll straight up. That's why I was in it, And like I said, I've quit 3 times. But you came back every time the money came back.
It has to be a little more than the money because you could pick way more lucrative things to do within arm wrestling. You could be a bass fisherman on the tour.
Yeah, but there's a high barrier to entry in professional bass fishing. arm
A
wrestling
lot of
doesn't really take
bastards
a
are
lot of
going
money
to say that
to
about arm wrestling.
Here's another funny story, if we're just telling stories.
Sure.
But, it was in WAL season. I think it was the second or third season. It wasn't the first one because I'd already won the championships, right? I was already out of the UAL, already won the first WAL championship in New Orleans. So I think it was the second season because I think we had to qualify at some point. And at one of the after parties, I ran into Joyce King. And I was talking to her, and I told her that probably the most inspirational arm wrestling match I ever saw was her in Vegas. And I was probably 2 or 3 years into the sport. But Joyce had lost to this giant Russian woman. And she had to come back and beat the Russian twice. And this Russian was huge, and so it was just inspiring to watch Joyce psych herself up and go in and change her game plan and beat this woman when the odds were against her. So at the end, I just recounted that story, and I told her, I said, man, that was really something. I just wanted to tell you that. And she looks at me, and she goes, oh, well, thank you. And who are you? I go, I'm more famous than you are. What do you mean, who am I? So the rest of the night, I called her other girls' names. I called her like Valerie Beach, and I called her.
Yeah. We do have one serious question coming out of the comments. Most of them are just troll questions, but somebody asked if you're training anyone else other than Ryan.
Well, I'm not training anybody else as formally as Ryan, but I probably get, I don't know, 15, 20 questions a week. People asking about certain things. And before I started doing this thing with Ryan, it was daunting to try and type stuff up. Now when somebody goes, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? I just send them a link to that Facebook page. So outside of just referring people to Ryan's Facebook page, I probably answer another 5 questions or so. And there's probably 3 or 4 people who ask regular questions, but they're usually, it's weird. They're so polite and they're so trying to not bother you that it's usually, hello, hi, how are you? How are you doing today? And at this point I go, just ask the question.
That must be a Facebook. I get some of those on Facebook.
Take so many thumbs up emoji, smiley face emoji, arm wrestling emoji.
They're trying to establish a relationship with you before they ask the question.
Yeah, and it's always, I'm so glad you answered, and you're so nice, and I've been watching you for years, and I go, just ask, but I'm not working with anybody, like I do Ryan, where I watch what he does or try. But I answer, like I said, 5 to a dozen questions a week.
Yeah, I get messages probably maybe every other day from Cameron Smith, and he's saying, Todd said this, and I'm like, dude, me and Todd pretty much, me and you share the same philosophies when it comes to training generally, I think. And I said, yeah, he's spot on. Like, I agree. But he bounces stuff off me, and I'm like, yeah, he's, it's like, he seems to be quite a big fan of yours. He seems like a sweet kid.
He is. He's
loves
nice.
to hook.
A lot of the questions fall into a couple of categories. They go, what would you do for this? And I'm pretty easy because it's all over there. I do this, this, and this. And they go, well, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And then it's this big, long, and I go, don't care. Or they go, what do you think about so-and-so's training? And I go, appears to work for them.
Don't
but
care.
I don't know.
So we have a couple of questions in the what the hell you call it, the comments section here. One of them was specifically who you would pick, Levon or Todd in a super match.
Oh, man. First, I stopped betting against Michael Todd years ago. I bet against Michael Todd before the UAL started when his super matches were. I think I bet against him 2 or 3 times, and he won every. So now I don't care who he's pulling. He could be pulling me, and I'd probably still bet on him. I just don't bet against him anymore. But I think with people getting the size of Levon and like Semplinkov and stuff, that King's move isn't as formidable as what it was probably 5 or 6 years ago. What's going to happen is it's going to get super popular, like line dancing or disco or something, and then we'll have the sport inoculated against it, and we'll have to go on to something else.
Mm-hmm.
But to watch Levon just clamp down as Vitaly is just cranking on that hand, and he's just holding. I go, I like Levon, especially if Levon watches how, like John Brzezinski pulled Michael Todd, pulls him kind of in the center of the table. I don't think I'd pull him like Jerry does, because that's a rare skill that most people can't do, that press.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Devin crawl all the way across the table to press and still not close the deal. Okay, we don't have to try that anymore either, Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to argue against probably the biggest, strongest dude in a long, long time, right?
So we got Jody Williams chimes into the chat here. Says you should have gotten to enter the top 8 in 2020 at 95 kilos. Now, I will ask the question, like, if you were made that offer, would you be able to take them up on it?
What's 95 kilos? Like 209?
The top 8, or even if PIL offered you something lucrative, are you able to take them up on that?
Oh,
or are you restricted from
210 pounds?
Yeah, I can make 210 pounds. I can make that easy. Whether I can legally do, I'll be honest, for all this talk of contracts this and contracts that, they've never really hindered me. I signed every WL contract they ever had, and I still went to Russia a couple of times. I still went to Poland. I think they would let me. I don't know. Would I? What Igor does, the PAL, the Zloty, those are nice tournaments, but that prize money is not WAL level prize money, by the time you pay your own expenses and stuff. So to me, I'm a full WAL union member. You know what I mean? I am fully committed to the WAL. I like the fact that it has a definite start and stop date. The super match selection process we can agree to disagree, but I think it's a little hazy. I don't quite understand the rules on how they pick the matches. But other than that, I don't have any problems with WAL. So.
Having been had one and offered two, I can tell you that sometimes you're just, like for me, the second match I was offered because of an injury. So I haven't been through the process enough to really form an opinion on it. But I know that there's lots of names being tossed around and lots of people that influence that decision. So I'm not sure who makes I guess it's Kaplan that makes the final call on these. Like, he signs off on it. He has to be the guy, but he has lots and lots of advisors.
Yeah, I'm glad he no longer has advisors that say, "Hey, let's change 5 rules in the table again this year." What a century-old sport should be known for is constant change. I'm glad those days are behind us.
I know exactly who you're referring to. He's probably watching right now.
It's my God, we make a few more changes and I'm going to start top rolling.
Yeah. Or he's over on Facebook looking for the live stream. So this question keeps getting asked, and I'm going to ask it. And I know that it's a tough one to answer because I don't know if you've even pulled 2 out of 3 of these guys. So it'd be an opinion. Whose side pressure is more powerful, Dennis, Dave, or Levon?
I pulled both Dave and Dennis.
Okay.
But not Levon. Dennis, now obviously we all know that Dave beat Dennis and they went back and forth. But I'll tell you the difference. Dennis's side pressure was, I know we're talking about force, but was actually faster than Dave's. Pulling Dave, you feel like he's just in low range and just unrelenting. Dennis has this ability to kind of hit at an odd angle and it snaps into you. You know, Dave, you can kind of adjust as he's pulling you open. But when I jumped on Dennis once, man. I think I faked him out. I was kind of loose gripping him, you know, joking around. And they said, go. And I just jumped in. I got every little thing I wanted. And I think I surprised him. I mean, I had him close, you know, like inches. And when he hit, he snapped me back. It was fast. He hit me like Corey Miller would hit you. And it hurt, you know, when you get shocked into that, it rattles stuff. Where Dave just felt powerful. You know, just super strong but steady. The actual level the two can achieve, I don't know, because they both beat me. So I don't, you know, they're both stronger than I am. But Dennis is a lot quicker than what Dave was, and not quicker off go, but quicker in how fast he goes from 0 to 100%.
Engaging, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a difference between somebody pushing you and somebody punching you. You know, but Levon, yeah, I've only shaken his hand and stuff. I've never pulled him. But you know, for crying out loud, you're talking about strongest men in the world. Why the hell would you ask me? I don't know.
Well, you are amongst.
Yeah.
I'm going to challenge you again, so just humor me for a bit. You've pulled both these guys, both at their strongest points, I believe. So the strongest version of Herman Stevens versus the strongest version of RVJ, right-handed. How do you handicap that match?
Nobody thinks RVJ will win.
What? Really? Interesting.
I mean, I favor Herman. I mean, RVJ's been getting trolled nonstop on Facebook the last couple of months. I mean, just such an easy target.
Completely undeservedly, too.
He
always
is willing to engage.
He just minds his own business. He's reading books to blind children and shit, and people just pick on him for no reason. I find that behavior unacceptable. That aggression shall not stand.
Second part of this question to see where your mind's at with this. If you had to pull RVJ at a 220, or if you got a little bit heavier, what do you think is his biggest weak point? Psychologically, physically, anything.
Is RVJ 220 or I'm 220 and he's still 200?
No, you're both 220. You're both big, strong, heavy, no weight cap, whatever. You're planning to pull him, and you're analyzing a tactic 4 or 5 months out. What do you believe is his weakest link?
Most top rollers, him included, they're so focused on their hand, they will lose a match trying to get hand control, right? They never the top, like, you never see Travis flop his hand over just to win the match. Travis fights for hand position all the way down. They're also never used to, I don't know how else to describe it, but if you sit up at a table with your palm flat to flat and just push sideways where all that stress is in your elbow, top rollers are usually weak there because they're used to doing this kind of stuff or this kind of stuff. They're not used to just biting your tongue and getting through it. I mean, the way I pulled RVJ, enough people have seen it. You go into the straps, it takes that hand control position away, and then it just becomes a matter of who's just flat stronger in the elbow and the shoulder. But that's most top rollers. You know, I mean, that's Matt Mask's problem. That's Marcio's problem when he's top roll. When Marcio's in a hook, he's strong as shit. When Marcio's in a top roll and you stop his hand, you know, he becomes mortal there. Jerry, who's super, super strong, but if you can kind of keep his hand up and make it a fight over whose elbow can withstand the most torque, Jerry feels mortal, you know.
This is interesting. So you officially classify RVJ as a top roller?
Yes. Well, he top rolls me 100% of the time.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, I don't know how he pulls other people, but 100%. I know he's going to top roll me.
Well, that seems odd because he's claimed that he's stronger than you. So isn't that conflicting?
See, that sounds like you are trying to start some shit because I know he's out reading books to blind children right now, and it did absolutely nothing to cause this aggression.
No.
I will expect your formal apology soon.
You know me better than that.
Sometimes, Gabi, when someone says they're stronger, they could be talking about the hand.
Yeah. To be honest, lots of people are stronger than me. I mean, that's just one part of arm wrestling, right? If it was just a matter of who was stronger, then these matches, then there'd be very few upsets.
I kind of disagree. I think going into most of your matches, you're almost universally the stronger man.
Oh, well, you are getting a Christmas card this year.
No, but let's stay with me here. I'm not programmed for flattery. So if it comes off, it's not. Jerry, he was kind of running from your strongest. I mean, I watched that match, and for me, it looked like when you got set, he was in trouble. When you got set in your power, that 300-pound behemoth was in trouble. And I don't believe I'm wrong. Devin, when you engaged, he was in trouble. I mean, he bled you out after a non-call pin, but Matt Mask, with your hand flop back, you cranked him. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a match where you weren't the stronger man. Now, you have flaws, don't get me wrong, but I don't believe I've ever seen you in a match. No, that's not true. The match you had, the last match you had with Rustam, we can argue that he was a stronger man, but we can also argue that maybe he wasn't because he didn't really allow you to really properly get set the way you want to get set. But
yeah, I should have put one of those in the straps. That was but that's that crap that happens over there, man. That's a whole different game.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. That's what I was trying to tell the viewers here when trying to handicap Ryan's chances at Zloty, and I said, yes, he's got good points, but that's the no fuck around zone. Like, there is no fucking around over there. And now we're talking everyone in that class is in the no fuck around zone.
Yeah. And you can't prepare for it here. There's there's nobody you can spar with here to prepare for what you're going to go through over there.
No.
But if you get into it, like, I'll bet you Tim Bresnan is phenomenal, only because he pulls over there so often. I bet you people who've pulled Tim before, he was a full-on PAL guy, and pull him now would probably remark that his style's different day to day,
Yeah.
A and B.
Yeah.
But it takes a while to adapt to that stuff over there.
Yeah. Well, Tim's also he's easy. Well, seemingly his the people that generally pull him get what they want. He just seems like a really stubborn man to finish. Like, incredibly hard to get to get a. He's easy to get a bite on. Incredibly hard to bury. Seems like very, very hard. Yeah.
We got a couple comments here that I'll read. I'm skipping a lot of them because the volume of comments coming in is incredible. But this one is just an opinion on all of us. Will Oleg Zoc be back next year? I think if he wants to be, he will be.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't talk to him.
Yeah. All I see is the updates that Igor posts. So we have the same information you guys do.
Have you ever pulled him, Ryan?
I never have. I shook hands with him in Turkey, and his left hand feels like you're gripping a softball.
I know.
It would be incredibly hard to deal with just in the setup.
Yeah, that would be there are just certain people, especially when you get up to the top, where you kind of, in my mindset, I got to kind of pull them 3 or 4 times to kind of figure something out. And that first time, and you go up there and you kind of in your head got a plan formulated, and it all goes away once you touch it. You go, oh shit, this is not what I was expecting.
Yeah. Another question: what are the major differences between Euro and American? Now, let's just compare WAL with PAL. That's probably the easiest comparison to make.
We are 15 years older than they are.
Yeah, true.
My children are the age of those competitors. That's the biggest difference.
Yeah. The rule sets are a little bit different. The setups take way longer. WAL is way more viewer friendly.
Yeah.
If you're a hardcore fan of arm wrestling, you like PAL, but even for me to watch 15 minutes of setup to watch a 5-second match is a lot.
And 5 seconds is a long one because usually
That's a
it's
long
a hit,
one, yeah.
let go, quit, or an elbow foul that it takes. Well, there's like 5 or 6 refs now, right? There's one up, and then there's like 3 watching cameras.
Yeah. So WAL is built for a quick setup and an entertaining viewing experience, which I appreciate that.
And we have longer matches. WL typically will have longer matches than the PAL will.
Yeah, this is true.
Well, that's what happens when you miss pins. Yeah.
Nope, wasn't a pin. Keep going. Yeah. Or the other way to look at it is tournament arm wrestlers in North America, you'll have a lot of novice guys mixed in with the pros. So you could have a few animals per class, where it seems like the European classes, and Todd, you know a lot more about this than I will, there doesn't seem to be any crappy arm wrestlers there.
Yeah, and I've only ever pulled the Zloty. I don't know what they're. To be honest, I don't know if they have little tournaments or like what we do, where Eddie's Bar is going to have a tournament or something. I don't know if they do that over. Anytime I've been over there, it's been big banners in the street, and the governor of Bulgaria comes out and talks to you, and it's always in a stadium somewhere. I assume they've got little tournaments, but I mean I've never attended one, like you said, and I've never. The other big difference is the clothing. Men should not be wearing these ankle tight, skin tight sweatpants ever.
Why not?
Whew, that's disturbing.
One of our guys, I'll ask it. What's more important, hand control or side pressure?
Come on.
Yeah. You can lose a match with full hand control, but you can't lose a match with full side pressure.
Well, it was the question. So,
if hand control was the end all be all, then those guys who say it's all hand position and control, they could argue weight classes should be immaterial. Because if I gain 50 pounds, my hand didn't get any bigger. If I gain 50 pounds, my hand still isn't as big as, say, Mike Salieris's or Alan Fisher's. Mm-hmm. So if it's hand position and genetics, you might as well just throw the weight classes out.
Interesting. Eric Spoto. Everyone keeps saying that name in the comments section. I don't know who that is.
He is. I've never met him. I've seen him before. He's. I think he lived in Utah for a while, but he's out in Las Vegas now. He's a big bench press guy. He's probably like a Scott Mendelson, Sean Ladder. I don't know.
No.
That's where I recognize the name from. He's like
he's a tier above those guys. Devin once stated he was the strongest non-quote unquote active arm wrestler on the planet. Like that 6 strength where you can't even budge on the practice table. I tend to believe it. I've heard rumors, and you're comparing him to Scott, but
yeah, well, Scott, I just meant not arm wrestling wise. I meant he's like bench pressed 1,000 pounds or something, or he set the world record without a shirt.
Yeah,
where Sean Latimer and Scott Mendelson were benching like 1,000 pounds in gear. I think Eric Spoto set the world record without it raw. I didn't mean arm wrestling wise. I've heard arm wrestling. He's been at Bob Brown's house and arm wrestled with Bob Brown and John Brzezinski a few times, and so I think he's from out west. I've never met him, but I've seen him, and I've probably heard all the same stories y'all have heard about him. He looks big. I mean, he's huge.
Apparently Devin just posted a video with him, and he looks super strong against Devin. The problem with Devin is he can make anybody look super strong. And he does it often.
At practice, John Brzezinski's the number one wizard at that. Everybody who practices with John thinks they can beat John. And I did it. It worked for me for a year. I practice with John. I go, my God, he's not so bad. Tournament John's a completely different animal than practice John.
I can speak to that a little bit because when I was warming up when I did the 8-man Grand Prix for World Elite Arm Wrestling in Moldova, I warmed up with John, And John was like, "Oh my God, you feel great." Like he made me feel so goddamn strong that I was ready to go out and just kill everybody.
And I've never heard John say bad stuff about anybody. There's only 2 arm wrestlers in my life I've ever heard John badmouth in private. Everybody else, it's like, hey, have you heard of this guy? Oh yeah, that guy's good. He's got big biceps. What about this guy? Oh, that guy's good. He's got big. Yeah, that guy's good. What about this guy? That dick.
Yeah. I got to mention my name, and you'll add 3 to that list.
How do you know you weren't one of the 2? Oh.
So here's one. Herman and I often talk about you as a subject, and we try to compare or debate whether it's your intelligence. He believes your intelligence is well above average, and it is. But I believe it's your tolerance for pain and pushing through limits, which is more of a bigger factor than your arm wrestling IQ or your general intelligence. And my question to you is, do you train with more tenacity now or in the last 4 or 5 years than you did with the Kevin Hicklin and Chad Silvers back in South Carolina, that group?
I have to do a lot more volume now because I'm older. When I was younger, you could do a lot more heavyweight, heavy band, a lot of not maximum, but a lot of heavy force training. And we also used to be able to practice 3 times a week. A really good, like if I go to Dave Morocco's house and practice, he's got a lot of big guys that practice there. Just for all your podcast listeners, you want to get into the sport, go practice at Dave's house. He's got like 4 or 5 tables. He's got a sweet setup down there, but he's got a team of really strong people. If I practice there, it knocks me out of my training for almost a week. I mean, I get so beat up nowadays. So, and it might be because I'm down to practicing once every other month or so, just because table time hurts so much. And I'm not learning much on table. Usually it's like I got to go pull puller A, so I have to adjust this. So I need to work on 1 or 2 things for me. I don't need to train 25 beginners anymore. You know what I mean? But so, oh hell, I forgot what your question was. It's I train. My basic workout hasn't moved. I still train arms 6 times a week. I train my back 4 times a week, and things move down from there. But there's a lot more volume on the elbows, a lot more volume on shoulders and forearms now, just to mitigate a lot of the pain in the rehab. And and everybody will figure this out when you start lifting really, really heavy and you start training near your max, to step up in gains becomes a lot harder, So if you were doing, let's just pick bicep curls. If you were doing 6 sets of 20 and that enabled you to generate 100 pounds of side pressure, and you were able to go 100, 105, and by the time you're trying to do 120 or 130 side pressure, your 6 sets of 20 is now like, if it was 6 sets of 20 at 100, you're now like doing 12 sets of 20 at 100, or you're doing 6 sets of 20 at 120. The amount of volume you have to do on the off workouts is huge. And I'm almost running out of time now. So I'm constantly looking for, and this is all Louis Simmons Westside Barbell stuff. He actually has a chart for squatting. If you're going to squat 800 pounds, this is the volume you do in the reverse hyper. If you're going to squat 1,000, it's a different volume, and it's almost exponential. We don't have that figured out for arm wrestling yet, but there's probably a certain amount of bicep curls, that you got to do 10,000 pounds of volume on bicep curls to generate this level of either side pressure or back pressure. We don't have that figured out yet, but it's going to be some exponential relationship between volume and max force.
But that's an interesting comment. I don't know that we'll ever get to the point where we have it figured out to the level of a Westside Barbell developing exercises that stay relatively within a certain plane of movement. Arm wrestling travels too far outside that to come up with. It's almost like, well, how many different ways is there to do a squat? Basically, the only thing that changes is the bar placement on your back and your stance. but it's all relatively the same. Same with bench press, same with deadlifting. You got conventional or sumo style. Arm wrestling, you might be able to get there, but it's going to look a little more diverse. It's going to be a lot more information to absorb.
A lot more. And what we got, and if the WAL's around in 10 years and the money's good, then we're coaching. So you can coach your people and I can coach my people and we can compare these notes, But really, with the WAL, it's such a strap-friendly organization. Are you going to pull sideways, backwards, or down? Or are you going to just stop? We're arm wrestling standardizing pretty quickly. As the money gets up, it standardizes pretty quickly. When the money's not there, you'll have all kinds of goofy techniques and moves and stuff. But there can't be an unlimited number of elite methods. Some methods have to be better than others, and it's probably going to be a Levon, Dave Chafee, Dennis Plinkoff, brute power, whatever you call that move, or it's going to be a Devin Lorette, Vitelli, Dave Patton, Travis Badgett type move, or the Michael Todd and every other beginner in the world starting this year King's move, because that move is so popular. I see it in all the amateur classes now. But, so I would say that if the money stays there, and there'll always be American versus European arm wrestling. But I think in America, you might have 3 or 4 main offensive moves and maybe 1 or 2 defensive moves to train for. I don't know. I've never seen a league that, leagues usually only last 3 or 4 years, so you never get to try anything.
If that, yeah.
If we have the longevity, it will be interesting to see that as the time rolls on, if some of us retire and hang it up and just start coaching guys. I mean, it's going to be really interesting.
Indeed.
So I had another training question. I've been training a lot of side pressure, kind of inspired by your videos and watching Ryan, and I've been setting goals and doing that. But I find that I have a really difficult time getting into a position with my arm that I can actually apply that pressure to an arm wrestling match.
Didn't I tell you that? Didn't I predict
You
that?
did tell me that. You did tell me that, but you told me what I couldn't do was get,
because top rollers have this problem with their elbow.
but I'm trying to get rid of that so that I can build the strength there, so I don't have as much of that problem with my elbow. Gavi said I could never get to 200 pounds of true side pressure. I got to tell you, Gavi, I'm getting closer every week. But what are your thoughts on a guy with a long arm trying to arm wrestle with that style?
It comes from up here, and it takes that's what your speed day and your volume day are for, because that trains your position. But you don't have to, everybody doesn't have to go, pin to pin sideways. A lot of people ask me what's side pressure. To be honest, it's just moving towards the winning side of the table at any time. Mm-hmm. But for you, that's stop. I'm guessing it's not your hand letting loose. It's you can't keep your elbow closed, or you're losing your shoulder.
It's 15 years of conditioning running. You can't. You're taking a long distance runner and asking him to put 200 pounds on his shoulder and go upstairs. I mean, it's 15 years of. It's a different skill set. I mean, there's 2 types of men, Ryan, and just unfortunately, you're just not the type of man me and Todd are. I mean, it's just 2 different.
We could say that. We could also say that Todd and I are the type of guy that you'll never be, Gavi.
Yeah, you can reach things in the kitchen that I can't.
But in all honesty, it's probably just you got to throw more volume on whatever's holding you back from there. And then and it might be your triceps, in all honesty, because a lot of it, if it's pain or something like that, I train a lot of volume on my biceps, on my triceps, not so much because I'm going to press, but it has to stabilize that. Because you generate the side pressure with your torso, but your triceps and your biceps are doing nothing more than stabilizing your elbow. So you train your triceps and your biceps last because you don't need those muscles. You just need those tendons rehabbed. So my guess is you need just gobs more volume on either the biceps or the triceps to move that up.
I'll fucking, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm gonna respectfully disagree. I think your
Oh my
transmission,
God.
As opposed to disrespectfully disagreeing.
you're the only fucking man on earth I will say that. Usually I'll just disagree. You're the only fucking, you and Ron Bath are the only. I'll say respectfully. I can't believe I do that, but you should be flattered because that word doesn't come out of my mouth very often. But here's the thing. I believe you need 5 plus 6, 7 years of practicing, training, driving sideways with your fucking elbow to develop that weld in that frame so you can pump out bicep strength and chest strength through that elbow onto the table. You haven't done it. So you'd have to go 4 or 5 years of strict driving with your elbow in all positions before you can start using it and making gains through your dynamic muscle tissue. I just think it's a different mentality. Side pressure is a mentality. It's developed over half a decade at least, I think, of constant application. If you notice a hook puller who starts in the sport a year or 2, 3 years, his hook is a dragging bicep hook where once the match stops, he's using his bicep to drag, but he's not going linear with the elbow. As he keeps going year 4 or year 5, all of a sudden you see what I call as a professional hook, where he stops the match and all of a sudden he can just drive off that elbow. That's because he now has confidence, and also the structure of the elbow has developed to the point where he can do that. But that takes time. That takes years. It takes a willingness. It's the transmission. That transmission is the link. The MCL of the elbow, I think.
Maybe. Where's your side pressure at now, Ryan? And whatever move you're picking.
High side pressure, kind of the style that Ryan likes to do in some of his videos. Approaching 300 pounds on the stack, so probably half of that true.
And how much is it? And how long have you been training it?
2 months.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, usually whenever you change something, you get an immediate gain just because it's something new, just because you're learning it. But
Sure.
at me, I'm hoping on a monthly basis, I'm adding like a pound or 2. I'm not trying to get much. Ryan's numbers shot up, but a lot of that was him adapting it because he had a lot of hand strength anyway. So, and figuring out how his machines work and figuring out different forms and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of that, you know what, Mr. Gabi might be correct. I think I could coach your side pressure up. If you're at 150, I think to get you from 150 to 200, I think that's probably a 1 or 2 year deal. But going from 150 to 170 will completely change your ability on the table. You add 20 pounds out of 150 is 12-14%. That's huge. My monthly goal is like 1% or 2, but it's 1% or 2 in 12 different side pressure vectors. So, it's not, so if you're strong in multiple different, because what we're approximating arm wrestling, not simulating it. So, right. But big, huge numbers, and you know what, 200, 250, one of those might be the equivalent of 1,000-pound bench press. I mean, it might be something that just a few people in the world can do.
I think
my side pressure is never going to hit that high 200 level on my machine, but there's no I mean, the highest I've ever hit was 170, and then when I backed off it for a while, it falls all the way back into the 140s. It takes a long ways to get back up there again, because if you're pushing that particular wrist wrench, high pulley angle, boom, 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 then you say, oh fuck, I need to learn how to top roll, because now I'm, instead of 3 inches shorter than everybody in my class, I'm 9 inches shorter than everybody. So you start training back pressure, and even I can't maintain that extremely high level in all of them. So you say, well, we're just going to go this way for a while, because I don't need a lot of side pressure if I'm pulling, 5 foot, 19-inch tall Matt Mask or somebody. I just, I need to protect my hand. I don't need to be able to go sideways.
I think there's a universal mistake when people train side pressure. Most people train side pressure with relative hand control, nice and tight at the table, and it's a safe way to do it. Unfortunately, um, I think side pressure is developed when things go wrong at the table in a competition or the practice table, and you decide not to relent. That position going sideways when you have no other angle on the defensive side of the table builds something. Now that build helps you in every aspect. It helps you on the attacking side. But when all you train is that proper tight neutral to attack side pressure, and you don't get that at the table, you have nothing. Um, Side pressure is built when you pull in a situation that you do not have leverage, or it's not a favorable position. You believe your Todd, you believe your side pressure came from years and years of scientific applications in the gym, and I'm not disagreeing. But in a way, I believe a lot of it came from refusing to lose matches and building that low end hard ass side pressure from the defensive position, refusing to give up on the fucking table. That has translated as much than the years and years of hours and thousands of hours of application in the gym. That's why I say side pressure. There's two types of side pressure. There's that beautiful side pressure that Rustam has when you have full hand control and you go sideways, and it's beautiful. And there's what happens when you don't get what you want and you refuse to get pinned, and you're driving with every essence of your being and pushing sideways because that's the only fucking place you can go. I don't know that, and that transitions to every aspect of side pressure, to the attacking side, to everything. But people are reluctant.
Both of those hypotheses are equally complementary to me, so I'll accept both of them.
Yeah. I'm trying to find a way where I can compliment you and also insult the majority of arm wrestlers out there, or criticize them. It's not easy to do.
No, but if anyone can find a way, Gabi.
Who the fuck runs that I Love Todd Hutchings page? Who runs that page?
First, we love Todzilla. It's not I love Todd Hutchings.
Okay.
And if I'm lying, I'm dying. I don't know. I do not know who does it, but I am. First, you got it. A lot of that stuff's really funny.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's not racist. It's not homophobic. It's not. I mean, it's like family friendly stuff, and most of them I actually laugh out loud when I see. I mean, even if it was about somebody that I don't particularly like, but I don't know who's doing it. I don't know if it's more than one person. I don't know if they're guys or girls. I don't even know if they're American. I don't know anything about it, but some of that stuff is hilarious.
Yeah, it's creative. Some of it's quite creative, I have to admit.
Yeah, and no, that's pretty clever. I mean, I suspected, and I suspected. I've asked 3 people. And they all said that they weren't doing it. And I don't think they're lying to me. I really don't. No. But I don't know who's doing it.
Have you asked Chris Gabi if he's doing it?
I have not.
I don't think I'm capable of such mainstream wholesome humor.
Without cussing. There's never any cuss words in it.
No. And like you said, it's not homophobic or racist. And let's face it, that's part of my programming.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
But like when arm wrestling memes started, it was really, really funny. And then all of a sudden it became so many inside jokes. Yeah. All of a sudden I didn't know what was funny about it. And then it became a lot of racial, not racist, but it was racist too sometimes, but it became very racial. And all of a sudden I go, I'm showing it to other people. I go, do you know why this is funny? You know?
Yeah. It's a little bit cryptic sometimes. Like you said, an inside joke.
But I don't know who does the We Love Todzilla page, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's cute. It's cute. Nice.
Gabi, what else have you got?
Man, we've been over an hour. I was reluctant to ask you to come on the show only because the more I respect someone, the less reluctant I am to ask them to do something. But I'm glad you obliged, and I don't think there's a man in arm wrestling I'd want to pick his brain more than you. So it's been an honor. Man, I hope you when you pull in wall, I'm always rooting for you. I hope you get more flattering matchups this year. I find that every matchup you have is at your peril. I know that they
yeah, but I look good when I win, don't I?
you're fucking Mac Daddy. I mean, when you win, you look like a goddamn. You look like fucking Braveheart when you win. Let's face it, it's impressive. And even when you lose, you're going into power. You're not trying to, oh, this doesn't work, I'm going to try to take his hand. Even when you lose, you're going in swinging, which is an amazing thing. Like I categorize men into two categories, and you're not the runner. You're fearless in your approach, scientific in your application, and I use it as a template to the way I train too. Just a rare breed, as far as I'm concerned, a rare breed.
There was a question in the comments, and we talked about WAL and match setups and all that kind of stuff, but the question was asked is, if you could call out, pick your next match, who would it be?
It would be any of the top 4 in the super heavyweights. I
That would be
crack
Jerry.
their levels. That would be Jerry, Devin, Dave, or Michael Todd. But I would like to know, not 4 weeks before the match, but I'd like to know like tomorrow which one I want to see.
Okay, let me ask you this question and rephrase it. Outside of those top 4, you had to pick one other super heavyweight, anyone in the world that could have the ability to pull a WAL. Who would it be?
Ryan Espy.
God damn it, that's a good match.
I got a fucking question for you.
I accept.
I got a fucking question for you, Todd.
A question on fornicating?
Yeah, sure. That's for
because that's the other podcast I'm doing in 6 hours.
Yeah. You're driven. You said you came back and driven by money. So there's $1 million purse, 100 million tax-free American dollars. You're set up to pull. You have 12 months to prepare. Unfortunately, the downside is you have to make 180 pounds. It's a left-handed match against yours truly. Everything starts in the strap. How fucked are you?
What would be the hardest part? Losing the weight or the match itself?
In 12 months, I can make 180 in 12 months on that keto diet.
I know you can.
It's awesome. I could make the 180. Left-handed, I'll be honest. I mean, I'm not a left-handed puller, but my left hand is 10 to 15% less than my right because it just drags it along. But in 12 months, I bet you I could be 180 and my left hand would be just as strong as it is today.
Awesome. The fact that you considered it and didn't automatically dismiss it is, I'll take it.
But you said $1 million American dollars because I don't want that Canadian.
No.
I don't want Canada Tire dollars.
No. The real deal, baby. Tax free.
Oh,
briefcase, the real fucking deal. The real deal.
Hey, you know what's something though, Todd? If we win money in Canada, we get to keep all of it.
Oh, and your health care is free.
Yeah. Well, ish. Yeah.
Yeah. Gabi, are you done? Are you done your list?
My list is done, man. It's complete.
All right.
Yeah, I picked his brain. I'm satisfied.
Well, we're at the 70-minute mark, pretty here, boys.
Yeah.
And we managed to get through it without very much technical difficulty.
Man, I think we've had 1,000 comments, and I think there must be about 15 trolls out there. Unreal. I'm detecting a lot of trolling there.
There's a ton of them. One guy is named
Squinty Joe Drellick. Squinty Joe Drellick.
Squinty Joe Drellick and Bluezilla, and of course Wild Pony, who is the guy that was criticizing me for the typo over on the Facebook. But it's all good. So maybe we'll call it a day here, guys.
Yeah.
Todd.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
It has been an honor to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
To do it, I'll come back anytime. I really
awesome.
Like it.
Absolutely.
Much obliged.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Merry Christmas.
Have a good evening.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.